to another edition of SOS America. I'm Charles Feldman in Los Angeles. And for those of you who have been regular viewers or listeners to this podcast, you know by now that we, every couple of weeks, interview very interesting guests about a variety of issues that are now sort of percolating, if you will, here in the United States. It's a podcast that we hope people overseas will find of interest, but also, of course, people who live here in the United States. Today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting subject, and it's a subject that actually does have reverberations around the world. It is about immigration. Many countries are now struggling with this notion of what do you do with immigrants. That has certainly become a hot issue here in the United States under the Trump administration, and in many parts of the world, but again, particularly here in the U.S., this has caused quite a bit of consternation in the immigrant community. It has caused lots of problems. It has separated families. It has pitted neighbor against neighbor. It is a very volatile issue indeed. So, for this edition, we are going to talk with two people who certainly know from the ground level what the issues are with immigrants at the current time in the U.S. and what the future might portend to whatever degree we can kind of look at the future. So let me welcome both of our guests. Our first one is Dauda Sesay, who is the executive director of the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants. Dauda, thank you for being with us. And joining him is Sharon, Nije, who is the Communications and Strategic Partnership Director for the same organization. So again, both of you, thank you for taking the time to be with us on SOS America. Dauda, let me start with you, because what I'd like to do is have you tell a little bit about your own story, which is very not only interesting, but also germane, I think, to our discussion. So you yourself are an immigrant to the United States. Tell us a little bit about that. You came from Sierra Leone, is that right?
Thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here today and to throw light on my journey from Sierra Leone to finding myself in the U.S. Um, Being here is not a choice, but it's by force. Um, at the peak of my age, 16, and at 16, full of hope, looking to complete high school. And unfortunately, life changed. Where at that moment, my world take 180 degree. From a young boy that have ambitions, that looking for to my future. And at that time growing up, I want to become either a pediatrician or gynecologist. The reason why, because in my country, during that time, we have the highest infant mortality rates and mortality rates. So I want to give back. But unfortunately, that journey was cut short when I met stormed the town. And in that war, I lost my dad, who was right in front of me. And in that war, I lost my 7-year-old sister when my family house was set on fire with my siblings, mom, and other relatives inside. Sadly, I lost my sister.
I'm sorry to hear all of that, by the way.
In that war, my right tongue almost chopped off, and I got shot on my left leg. I survived, and then spent over a decade in a refugee camp in the Gambia. In the Gambia, and in the camp, that's where I met my wife.
Mhm.
And life take a beautiful turn there in the midst of the struggle and all of that. I had my baby. I was born in a refugee camp. She was 6 months old when we are resettled in the United States.
Well, I was going to ask you, what made your so you end up in the United States, and did you go directly to Louisiana where you are now, or what?
Yes. Um, it was through the refugee resettlement program.
Okay.
So luckily for us, the resettlement agency that accepted us, it is a Catholic charity in Louisiana.
Hmm.
So yes, I was resettled in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana. And since then, this has been home.
Let me, Dowdy, put you on hold for a second and bounce over to Sharon. Sharon, uh, are you an immigrant also, and what's your story?
Yes, I'm an immigrant. I'm an asylee from Cameroon, and I moved into the United States a few years ago to pursue higher education. And coming from a country that is going through political turmoil for over 9+ years to date, um, it was hard trying to find safety and find home away from home, and finding a community that became my family here in America after losing most of my family back in Cameroon.
Hmm. Um, so that brings me then to the organization that you both are with, which again is the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants. I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dowdy, that under the Trump administration, your organization has its hands full. Am I right about that?
You are definitely right. My hands are full because we are everything that the organization is against. And immigrants. If I take you back in the first administration, and and then the first time when they launched their campaign, they called immigrant different names. Immigrants are X, Y, and Z. I don't want to repeat those terminologies that were labeled. And
Hmm.
that's what got me into the space.
Hmm.
And realizing that people are talking about me, my family, my community, and label refugees and immigrants in a way that doesn't fit. And in that moment, and then I start realizing that somebody has to be there to educate, to change the narrative. Because if you allow people to tell your story or describe your community the way they see fit, you're giving them so much power. So that's what gave the birth and the rise of the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants, LORI for short. Start having conversation with faith leaders, businesses, the schools, and elected officials, sharing my story, the stories of others, and how we are building and how we are contributing in the cities and the state that we lived.
How concerned, and this is for both of you, whoever wants to jump in, either Dowdy or Sharon. How concerned are immigrants in your community now?
They are concerned because if you can see a 2 years old and a 4 years old fighting stage 4 cancer can be deported. And those two are US citizens. And if you can see, you will be in your car, armed men with face mask, smashing windows to put people in the cars. We are reliving the same terror we fled from. Because that's what those terrors were doing. They masked with hunger and just grabbing people from all over the place
Hmm.
and punish you. So that's concerning. And secondly, we've seen when we heard that the National Guard, the military will be involved in local immigration raid. As we speak, the stores were empty. You see, people goes in and restock items. And
They
it's
don't,
hard.
because they don't want to be out on the street.
They don't want to be out on the streets. Yes. And children not going to school. I remember one of the teacher was talking to me. How this teacher has to modify the classroom to accommodate immigrant students that will be joining virtual. These are young children full of life and a future, but they have to think going to school or my parents' safety or my family will be whole again. And that is so traumatic. And it's not only affecting the immigrants, it is also affecting the local populations, local US citizens that have been friends with those students, local churches that are seeing their congregation is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And we've seen businesses and construction companies are saying project being delayed because the immigrants are doing more of those labor work and they are not available. And most importantly, these are human beings that just wanted to live a life of dignity and provide for their community.
Sharon, did you ever think that you would see this, what Dauda just described? Did you ever think you would see this happening here in the United States?
Coming to the United States, I did not preempt, especially coming from my own country, that I was fleeing from the instability and the political war. I did not preempt that this would be the America that we envisioned to be a place of euphoria and beauty. And my very first welcome to the United States was me being treated like George Floyd. That was my welcome to the United States. And that actually, had to relieve the traumas from my country all over again, because I reflected on the police looking at my colorfulness, profiling me in a situation that I almost lost my life and died during an accident crash, a fatal accident, and my car went total. And the person who hit me, a white lady, had lied to the police I hit and I ran away, but I was right there where people had to rescue me out of the car. And I saw the police took her side and turned against me and said I hit and I ran away. 4 white policemen mishandling me. And that was my very welcome to America. I was profiled because of my skin color. And when I had to speak and say, I don't understand, the people go to jail for accidents. And the police said repeatedly, countless times, you're going to go to jail. And I did not recognize America. They heard my voice, they saw my skin, and they defined me and believed, even though the community, the Black folks would say this girl did nothing wrong, that I was the one who was profiled because of the way I look, probably because of the way I sound. And you can't talk about America without definitely looking at what Black and brown people really go through. There's no America without identifying those key elements of Black and brown people being profiled.
Dowdy, what is it that your organization can do to help immigrants?
So currently, Louis, we have 3 pillars of our work. One is the access to resources, education and access to resources. So we educate the immigrant community about their rights in this moment, and then also about the different pathways that are available for them as well. And we connect them to resources also that they can access at this moment and that is available for them and as well. And then when there is language barrier, we create interpretation and translation of those materials so that they will be able to get the information they needed in a time of disaster, in a time of crisis, and then also to access the resources they need. That's one. And also, we provide English as a second language class. We don't just want to translate, but we want to making sure that you are empowered to be able to read and write. Immigration has been an issue. We opened the first immigrant-led free immigration legal support and clinics. So we provide immigration legal assistance so that individuals that are navigating the system, they can apply for immigration benefits that they need. Getting an immigration lawyer can cost a minimum of $2,000 to up to $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000. But providing that for them is a burden we are taking away from the struggling family, giving the support in applying for immigration legal service. We do other mutual aid activities as well, where we provide disaster response and we provide basic food and personal hygiene and home kits for individuals that are impacted by disaster. Right now, this is a man-made disaster that the immigrants are going through with the militarization of immigration enforcement. People are anchored in their home. People are leaving and go other places that is safe. People are going to their neighbors and just stay indoors. So it's a disaster that is made, which has been preventable. Lowy is at the forefront to see, one, how can we mitigate the harm that this community are going through by providing some of those mutual aid support. And then secondly, as well, we create a community cycle where local residents have been with community and become that emotional and social support for individuals that have been traumatized, especially the youth, because there is no program right now available to cater for the over 50,000 youth of immigrants that are really, really traumatized right now, not knowing whether I'm coming back home for their family. So we're creating those social support for those young leaders right now and see how we can support them. And finally, we do also leadership training, because at the end of the day, the people that we put in office, they are the ones that are creating policy that impact us. So yes, we train them to be a leader so that they can be a voice to advocate for issues that are impacting them. But right now, we all just launched our rapid response, which is provide the basic needs that people needed right now, which is support with food, hygiene, diaper for children. Right now, those are the needs right now and before. So that's what we're working on right now, how we can protect our community and provide them with the basic necessary goods they need.
Very good. Dauda Sesay, Executive Director of the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants, and joined by Sharon Nije, who is the Communications and Strategic Partnership Director also for the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants. I thank you both for taking the time to be with us on SOS America. For those of you who are regular viewers of our episodes, any comments, we of course always welcome, and we encourage you, if you would like, to subscribe. It is perfectly free. Until the next episode of SOS America, I'm Charles Feldman. Thank you for being with us.